Good afternoon. This is the video newsletter for Buy Sell Short for Sunday, October 24th. Pretty muted session on Friday. Very low volume across the board. Most of the action was in the mega caps and in low float stocks, which we caught a couple of very nice moves in. But over the last couple of days, market has just been really dead. Most stocks just no volume. And not really a surprise given everything that's upcoming in the next couple of weeks. We've got the elections, we've got the Fed meeting, we've got QE2 about ready to wind up, and then, of course, we've got the dollar going on big moves, up big one day, down big the next day. And as we've been saying, this is a market that is totally tied to the dollar right now. Whatever way the dollar goes, the market goes in the opposite direction. Looking at the 15-minute chart, you can see we've got support around 11,000, 1100. But going into tomorrow's session, we're probably looking at least for an up open. We've got RSI breaking up through 50. We've got MACD going positive, and we're about to see stochastics go up through the 50 level. So just looking at this chart, I would say that we're going to have at least some sort of gap in the morning. Of course, that again depends on what the dollar does in the overnight session. Looking at the daily chart, here we're looking at the 1 year chart, and you can see here we have a possible double top on the Dow unless we're able to break convincingly through that 11,258 level. If we break through that level, we actually have to go out to a 3 year chart, and the next resistance level will be up there around 11,500 to 12,000. We're not even talking about that right now. We're just using that as if we see a convincing break. If we see a break through 11,300, we're looking at 11,500, 11,750, and 12,000 as our psychological levels. SMH, let me scroll up there, actually bounced back, and we could be seeing on the SMH what we saw at the previous top there in July. We had that big run up, little consolidation, and then another run up to a high. So we've had this big run up, a consolidation, and we're looking again at testing that $29 level. If we go out to a 1 year view on the SMH, you can see a break of that 29 level, which has been pretty rock solid over the last several months. And then next resistance will be up there at $30. So if you're looking for a trade on the SMH, I would look for break of $29 as a scalp entry on this one, with stops at 28.50, and target would be 30 to $30.50. The SMH chart is actually not that bad. We've got unbalanced volume stochastics, a positive ADX. So if we do see some volume come in, volume has really been decreasing on the SMH over the last month. So, we've got a lot of signals here sort of contradicting each other. And essentially, like everything else, it comes down to one key element: what the US dollar is doing. Here we've got the US dollar, as you can see, after that big decline, over the last few days, big up move, big down dude, last couple of days sort of hanging with small little moves, and that's why the market's been the way it's been. Stochastics got up to the 50 level and have dropped again, and the last time we saw that was before we saw this extended drop on the US dollar. We had the G20 meeting this weekend. Nothing new really came about that. So you're going to have people starting to talk a lot about the elections coming up, and the more important thing, QE2 on the Fed, the new round of Fed easing that's going to come. So we could see the end of the US dollar up move. Ideally, it's going to be what happens at this 20-day exponential. If it's able to break up into the $79 level, then, we could see a few days of more downside in the market and upside in the dollar. But I'm actually thinking this was merely a pause in a decline that's going to keep going lower, and therefore, we're going to see stocks continue to move higher. Let's jump into some stock plays now. As I mentioned, Friday, really dead day for most stocks, except for the mega caps, the really large cap stocks like Amazon, Netflix, etc., and low float stocks. Since Thursday, low float stocks have just been going on a massive move. I profiled ICGN in the video on Thursday as a buy underneath the 20-day exponential 129. Our targets were 150, 175. Both targets hit on Friday on very heavy volume. Can't ask for anything better than that. For both targets hit, as I mentioned, you should be out at least 2/3 to 3/4 on this one, if not all. If you're holding for further upside, secondary target would be a move to 2 plus. The chart looks decent here. We've got RSI breaking 50, stochastics still really oversold, and we got that nice positive ADX cross. So the chart definitely has some upside movement, but on low float stocks, they're essentially a dice roll for the most part. You could buy 10 low float stocks, and 2 of them will run big. The other 8 will barely pop or sell off. So that's the reason why when you play these low float gamble plays, you play them small, and you spread your eggs out, because not every single one of them is going to move big. Couple of other plays to keep an eye on this week. IKAN, nice support has been seen at its 20-day exponential 120. We've got earnings early this week, so we could see a nice little push on this one Monday, on Tuesday, up to the 130, 140 level. RSI bouncing off the 50 level. Stochastics is also at a bounce level here, so I'd be surprised if we don't see a little volume come into this stock tomorrow on a nice little pop up to the 130s here. SNSS, this is a stock that's seen quite a bit of volume over the last few days. Again, as I mentioned, breakout is 36 cents on this one, which is where we'd be looking to really add a decent sized position on this one for a move to the 40, 44 cent area with stops. You can trail your stops now on this one just below the 8-day at 32 cents. RSI is trying to break 50, and it's just one of those things. It's either going to go big or it's going to sort of tread water here. So the volume has been there. We're just waiting for the move. ARNA, big bounce on this one on Friday, and the reason was the FDA came out and said they made a mistake not having a tax expert on the panel that gave them a rejection, and so the stock spiked on that news. Late Friday, news came out Saturday, FDA rejected their application, but they didn't really kill the drug. They gave them an opening that many people didn't think actually was going to happen. They've got to do or redo the rat trial, so they don't have to do human trials again, which is a big positive. And despite what a lot of shorts think, market may actually view this as mildly positive, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this one trades tomorrow. Volume is definitely going to be high. If this one closes green tomorrow, it definitely has a shot at a nice little move next week. So we've got RSI about to break the 30 level here, and that has been pretty key on a lot of these biotech tanker plays when they start going on decent sized moves. One to keep an eye on, SPEX. Great data here, but they sold shares and did not ban the financiers from shorting ahead of the financing. Really is a moot cause, because these guys, whenever they do financing, short whether they're allowed to or not. Given the size of the sell-off, the financing likely has some weird stuff to it where the only ones who are actually going to ever make money on this stock are the financiers. However, they're going to report an update on their drug trial in a week's time, so definitely one to keep an eye on here, especially if it's able to tread water. It could be one that could see a nice little snapback. Not one I jump into right away, but just one to stick on your radars, at least for the near term. ZLCS, this one's had a lot of volume over the last few days. A really large bidder keeps pushing it up, then it disappears, stock falls back, and then reappears and pushes it higher. Breakout here, 134, could see a move back to that old trading range of 140 plus. So definitely one to keep an eye on. RSI has broken up through the 50 level, as has stochastics and a positive ADX cross. So this one's looking to put in some sort of move here in the near term. A review of a couple of our other plays. ABTL, absolutely terrible trading action on this one. This was just a bad play with a couple of warning signs that we need to keep in mind in future plays. We had that breakout a few days ago, or actually last Friday, and then on Monday the volume sort of disappeared and the stock fell back. After a huge volume day, especially in a stock that looked like it was being highly manipulated, that red closed the next day. We really should have just ran for the exits on this stock. And then it broke support and it has been going down since. Stock should at least bounce back to its 50-day moving average once the crooks are done doing what they're doing on this one. But just a lesson to keep in mind on future plays, especially if they act like this. Monster volume does not break out, drops the next day. We're going to take that as a signal to get out of a play no matter how much we like the play. IPAS, Victim of the low volume market over the last couple of days. If you're not stopped out of this one, trail your stops or put your stops at 116. This is a market where we could see these stocks explode after they hit stops, but it's better to be a little more cautious right now, especially given how volume has died off in a lot of plays and the market is trading towards a double top. I mean, if we're high cash right now, we can always add back stocks. If we're high stock and we see a retrace, that's a recipe for disaster. And if we see a retrace and we're high stock and low cash, we can't jump into those opportunities. So that's why I've been saying, clear out the old dog plays right now, get that cash level up to 70% plus, and be ready to pounce on some new plays. MAG, this has hit its lower resistance support or lower support line right now at the 115 level. This is drop dead stops on this one. Hopefully we see a bounce on this early this week, tomorrow. If not, would look to move to the sidelines and possibly rebuy on a 125 breakout here. OVRL, another stock that has totally disappointed. We had a decent volume spike. It's really, really cheap in its sector. What may help it this week is it's a low float stock. So if we see the low float momentum continue on Monday, it won't be too long before traders find stocks like OVRL and we get a bounce back up to that 145 to 155 level. Again, this is the danger of playing low volume stocks, and why, if you do play them, I've always advocated playing them very, very small if you play them, and this is the reason why. Even if you've got stops in place on low volume stocks, 200 shares can drop a stock, through stops, and then you're really screwed holding on, waiting for the stock to bounce back. NEI, 7 down days in a row, but it looks like it finally found support and held that 140 level. Going to be interesting to see how this one acts. If we're able to get a close above the 50-day at 148, we could see a move back up to that upper resistance level, 160, 170. Chart is pretty oversold right now, so we'll be looking to see if this one has a continuation pop early this week. So that's really it for the video tonight. Not a whole lot of new plays. We're going into this week pretty high cash, seeing if the low flow craziness continues, and looking to jump on some new plays. Really the only new play I'm looking at, well, sort of new play, is IKAN going into this week, and ZLCS to see if we get some follow through on that volume. And that's it for the video, guys. I will see you guys in the chat room tomorrow. Goodbye.